Hi everyone, I'm 10 Tampa Bay Meteorologist Colleen Campbell, and it is time to do a little update here. We have our weather impact alert, plus it's 8 p.m., so that means we have some new information from the National Hurricane Center. I appreciate you guys joining me tonight on our streaming channel here. Let's start off with the flash flood warning. That goes until 9 p.m. and covers a nice chunk of Hillsborough County. Now, the heaviest of rain did start to taper off. We still have some moderate rainfall that's being dumped in that area, and the reason why they issued this flash flood warning is because they had radar indicated rainfall totals anywhere from 3 to 5 inches, plus they were expecting, when they put this warning out, another inch or two dumped on that region, and that can certainly cause some flooding. There have been reports of flooding and some stranded vehicles in Pasco County, actually. But yes, so the flash flood warning for Hillsborough goes until 9 p.m. tonight. Plant City included in that, and you can see I-4 really just sliced in the middle of that polygon that's highlighted there. So about another hour for that warning to go. And then we have a couple flood advisories as well, also across Hillsborough County. Right now, that's where most of them are, and it makes sense because that's where the heaviest of rain has been as of recently. We did have several flood advisories across a couple of our counties here. Polk County, Pasco County, Manatee County, and Sarasota County all had flood advisories earlier this evening, but those were allowed to expire on time. All right, so here's a look at your radar. This is a loop over the last hour. You can see nice improvements here, still getting some moderate rain, especially along the Gulf Coast there, Bradenton, Sarasota, St. Pete. Still a little bit of lightning as well that's starting to wind down. We see right around I-75, we have some heavier rain at this time. Let me see if I can do a quick little zoom in here. So I'm looking at this pocket right here, and if anybody is watching our streaming show around 4:30 today, Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins and I were talking about how important it is to watch the sea breeze collisions for this time of the year. So basically, anytime we have the winds coming in from the Atlantic as well as the Gulf, we also look for those outflow boundaries. So what happens here is we have those storms that bubble up, and then those storms basically collapse, and we have an outflow boundary that results from that. Then we have those two outflow boundaries that basically combine, and what that did was really fill in that area, the mouth of Tampa Bay, and that's where we recently had the heaviest rainfall. But again, things are winding down for the night. We're going to do this all over again this weekend. We will walk through futurecast in the next few minutes here. But here's your rainfall estimates from the past 12 hours, and most of this arriving in the past 6 hours, because again, the first half of today, although it wasn't completely dry, it was drier than what we've had recently, right? So the skies really opened up around 4, 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock especially, that's when we started seeing those flood advisories pop up, starting off in Pasco County. And again, most of those have expired, but it was all because we had so much rain being dumped in our area. We had 2 to 4 inches generally, some areas pushing closer to 5 inches of rain, especially in Hillsborough County, and that's what triggered that flash flood warning. And remember, flooding can occur 6 hours after an event. Now, we will continue to see some heavy rain the next couple of days here, and that's because we have this tropical wave that's basically sitting over our area. So you see all that moisture that's placed by the Bahamas, that's actually the backside of this system. So what you're going to notice here over the next couple of days, you're going to see a weak area of low pressure. It doesn't really have much power to turn tropical, but we always watch these areas of low pressure this time of year to see if they do take on tropical characteristics. What this is doing is this is just delivering a lot of extra moisture in our area, so we're looking at more rainfall than usual for the next few days, and that's why we have this weather impact alert. So the weather impact alert for tonight ending at 8 p.m. So we have about 45 minutes left in that, give or take 50 minutes left in that. And the impact would be the widespread rain in the afternoon and evening hours, mainly downpours and flooding. Now notice the timing goes from 2 to 8 o'clock. Again, most of this will be centered right in the late afternoon to the evening. Doesn't necessarily mean at 2 p.m. the skies are going to open up, but when we issue these weather impact alerts here as your team of 10 Tampa Bay meteorologists, we also consider what events do we have going on and when are people out the most. So if you're trying to plan out your day, we want to make sure that you can get your plans in and still enjoy your weekends. Tomorrow morning would be the best opportunity to get outside and enjoy the drier weather while it's here, because the downpours will hold off until the afternoon. So here we are on Futurecast. You can see this paused at 8 a.m. tomorrow. If you want to get out for a run, maybe a quick little Saturday brunch, meet up with some friends, go out on the boat, tomorrow morning would be your time to do it. So get up nice and early, seize the day, because here we are 4 o'clock, and you can see just like clockwork, we have those showers and storms starting up once again. And because our atmosphere is just so rich with moisture, some of those will come down in hefty downpours, just as we saw for today. Moving forward into the evening hours, things do start to dry out once again. So again, the bulk of that system coming through the evening. Here we are around 8, 9 o'clock, and we start the process of quieting down for the night. Moving into Sunday, this is now Sunday morning, we will have a little bit more rain Sunday morning by the coast. And I want to point your attention to this area right here. See if I can bring up a little magnifying glass. You know what? I'll just use my pointer. So this area that's off to the left, try and get my drawing tool. Here we go. This is the weak area of low pressure that we're looking at. See how the winds are going in that counterclockwise direction? So that's basically a very weak low. We have a trough over our area, which is just an elongated area of low pressure. That's off our coast. And because of that, the winds will actually be coming in this way, and that will push that moisture towards our coast for Sunday morning. So tomorrow morning, Saturday, looking on the drier side. Sunday, we could have a good couple downpours to start the day, and then as we move into the afternoon, that low will continue spinning off to the north. And then Monday, we actually could get more rain, and Monday's the first day back to school for those kiddos, so that's something important as well. All right, diving into the tropics now. Here's our latest update through the National Hurricane Center. You notice that we still have a lot going on, but thankfully no impacts here at home. We are going to be paying close attention to everything going on in the Atlantic Basin over the next week to the next 10 days. And that's mainly because of this tropical wave that's emerging off the coast of Africa right now. So here we are, we have that highlighted. It has now been marked by the National Hurricane Center for a chance of development low, about 20% chance over the next week. However, if you've been on social media, you've probably seen a lot of people kind of hyping this up. We have a few tropical waves that will be coming off the coast of Africa in the next few days. This is just the start of them. This is the time of year, so it's not anything unusual to see these in the main development region, which is this section that you're seeing in the Atlantic Basin. But the concern is, are the conditions going to be right for this to spin up into our first hurricane? We usually see our first hurricane for the Atlantic Basin on August 11th, and that's just going off of 30 years of data. Just looking at trends and when we typically see our first hurricane. So August 11th would put us right in the timeline that we normally are. This could form a little bit after that. I do want to touch on this system just off the Carolinas. Notice now it no longer has that area, that bubble, if you will, that blob, some people call them. That's yellow. So this has been going down and down as far as chances for development. And by the way, that red flash that you see there, that's just when a radar update was happening, and that's what's going on there. But anyway, the X, that's indicating that area that's still disturbed. We have an area of disturbed weather, meaning some showers and storms just can't get their act together. And that is to the northeast of Bermuda. And then we also have that area that is AL 96. Very tiny there, that system. That's an invest. So whenever something's tagged an invest, it means that we have some interest in that system to see if it will form or develop further. But it is very small. You don't see a lot of convection being blown off from this. With Dexter, if anybody remembers that, when you looked at the satellite imagery, you saw a lot of that red and just blowing off the system. And Dexter did live for a long time. By the way, Dexter fizzled out last night. But this is a system that really doesn't have much of a lifespan. Here's the spaghetti models, and you can see the latest run of the spaghetti models generally Of course, some of the models want to go rogue and do their own thing, but the general consensus here is that this system is going to fizzle out once it gets into the central Atlantic and makes its way closer to Bermuda. And this is why it's so important. We said this earlier in the stream, that you don't want to pay attention to those long-range models. I know people posted, and there's a lot of hype, especially with that tropical wave that we just pointed out to you. But the thing is, you really can't get a good reading of what these storms are going to do until at least a week out, 5 days out. So we still have some time to look at that other wave that just got marked tonight. Invest 96 looks like it will fizzle out. It still has a chance for development, still has a 40% shot over the next week, but it's also having to fight through some Saharan dust as well as a little bit of wind shear. So it will be interesting to see what that does. Either way, we like to have it in the central Atlantic because that means it's staying away from land. We don't want our friends in Bermuda impacted by this. So far, Bermuda's kind of been dodging these systems left and right? It had Dexter, it has that one off the Carolinas, now it has this one. Earlier model runs had it going towards Bermuda, now it has it fizzling out before it even makes it there. All right, so here's our model showing the Saharan dust, and let me escape out of here so I can play this out for you. Notice, so the areas, the blobs that you see, the yellow and the orange, that would be those areas of interest where the X's are currently placed, besides the one off the coast of the Carolinas. That's where we could see things develop inside that yellow circle. But watch this. As we go forward into time, this is Sunday, this upcoming weekend, and notice how that blob of Saharan dust really takes over to where Invest 96 is currently placed. That's why that system really hasn't had much much of a chance for developing, right? It still has a 40% chance, a medium shot, but it really hasn't done much, right? And it's very small, so it's kind of getting choked out by that Saharan dust. Then we have another wave that's another wave of dust, at least, emerging off the coast of Africa, and that could delay that wave that we just had tagged tonight from developing further as well. But eventually, it looks like this dust will start to fade away. The dust comes in different plumes. We have heavier plumes of it. Of course, that helps us with the tropics. But then when things start to lighten up, then that's when things can get a little bit more explosive. All right, so let's go into our different models here. So here's a European model, and I think we just have a few minutes left here. The green would be an area high pressure, and so far, the systems that we've seen, Dexter, as well as the system that's off the coast of the Carolinas, they've been looking, so these systems look for a weak area that they can kind of ride along. They don't want to be disrupted. They don't want to have any wind shear. Wind shear tears these systems apart. They want lighter winds, warm water. When you don't have those factors, and of course no Saharan dust, that's when they don't really have much of a lifespan. So the green would be that area high pressure. There's that system that will be up by the Carolinas and eventually move off. It still could develop. And then we're looking for that little bubble that you see there that's not green. That will be our area of low pressure that we'll have to watch. And then you see a couple waves coming off the coast of Africa, those yellow little blobs that you see there. Those are those waves that we will be watching over the next few days to see if we get development further. Don't love that map because there's a lot going on there. I'll show you this one as well because it's a little bit easier to track. So where you're looking for would be a tighter circulation. So something like this up here. That's what would be left of Dexter. Then we have this area right over here off the coast of the Carolinas. I just realized my pointer is not showing, but off the coast of the Carolinas, see those two circles together? That's the GFS and Euro coming in good agreement and saying, okay, you know, we see something there, but again, it doesn't have much of a lifespan. Still could develop, but, and then off the coast of Africa, again, there's a pretty good agreement that we'll have something trying to spin up there. Now, where it goes from there, we can bring this all the way out in the timeline, and the models do have a pretty good agreement right now saying that it will start to bring it towards Barbados. This is Sunday, next Sunday. So that is something that we will watch over the next week. But again, when it gets into the long range outlook, we're talking more than a